Continuing on our journey in the MCU, leading up to Doomsday, we're now on to MCU Phase 4, and this is going to be a different kind of phase. There is a lot of projects in this one. There's a lot of movies and a lot of TV shows. So what I thought to do is I'm going to do top 5 for the movies and a top 5 for the TV shows. Now, the TV shows are optional for the most part, but I will say there's a few that I truly believe are just as important, if not way more important than most of the movies. So with that being said, be on the lookout for my TV show list for this phase. But yeah, that's where we start to get a little different territory. For the movies, though, for this phase that I'll be ranking, we have Black Widow, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Eternals, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Thor, Love and Thunder, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Now, this list is going to be difficult because, honestly, guys, I was looking at this and making this list, and this is difficult for a different reason than Phase 3. Phase 3, I'm like, wow, I can't really decide what to pick. Like, there's so much important stuff here. This is the phase where a lot of Marvel fans feel that the MCU took a drastic dip, with a few exceptions in here, obviously. But for the most part, this is definitely where a lot of fans mark the quote-unquote death of the MCU. Me personally, I'm not entirely in that camp. I will say, though, the quality did go down, and that's what I was going to say. The difficult part of making this one is picking ones that do feel relevant enough. I'm struggling to find, or I struggled to find 5 that I was like, dang, yeah, you probably should watch these 5. Like, I have to kind of grasp at straws because I'm trying to think long term here and think about the future. So with that being said, we'll get into it. I don't want to take up too much time, but obviously I'll be going in order. So I believe you should watch these in order. Although for this first one, I'm going to be talking about Black Widow. And this one is kind of weird because you could watch this wherever in this order, because in my opinion and a lot of other people's opinions, Black Widow should have come before Infinity War, to be honest. I'm sorry, not before Infinity War, before Endgame, right after Infinity War. That being said, it did not. It came out in 2021. So, do with that what you will, but in Marvel Studios' action-packed spy thriller Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, confronts the darker parts of her ledger. When a dangerous conspiracy with ties to her past arises, pursued by a force that will stop at nothing to bring her down, Natasha must deal with her history as a spy and the broken relationships left in her wake long before she became an Avenger. Now, this one is important for really one big reason. And if you're new here, I'm not going to be doing spoilers just in case people are watching these videos and they're going through the MCU for their first time. I don't want to, spoil anything for them. However, I'm assuming if you're watching this Phase 4 video, you've seen Phase 3. And with that being said, as I mentioned, this movie should have come after Infinity War because of what happens to Natasha's character. But this movie is super important because it introduces a new character, well, a bunch of new characters, but, 2 of them being her sister and her surrogate father that play a bigger role in the MCU later on. And even to this day, especially if you've seen the Thunderbolts. Like I said, no spoilers here, but I'm just saying, if you've seen Thunderbolts, you know what I'm talking about. And honestly, this one was a tough pick because other than that, I really don't think there's much important things that happen in this movie. It's kind of just, what I described. It is a spy thriller. But, that doesn't make it a bad movie. I think it's an okay movie. A lot of people shit on this, but I think part of the reason for that is because it came to streaming. Anyways, I think it's a solid enough movie, but the main reason I'm putting it on here is just because of the characters it introduces. And I feel like if you don't watch this and you just jump into, like I said, say Thunderbolts down the line, I think you might be a little bit confused just because of, where it leaves these characters. That being said, we'll move on to number 2, and that is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Shang-Chi must confront the past he thought he left behind when he is drawn into the web of the mysterious Ten Rings organization. Now, this is a very different movie because it's unlike anything else in the MCU so far. It's like a kung fu movie, honestly, and it kicks ass. I really do love this movie, and it's funny because this is one that people like really underestimated a lot when it came out, and I don't know. I found it very interesting because I always thought this was like a no-brainer. I mean, they got Dustin Daniel Cretton directing it, and if you don't know, he's directing the new Spider-Man, but he's done some good stuff, and they had a lot of good thought and care put into this. With that being said, I also think that Shang-Chi is going to be a major player in the MCU in the future, especially for Doomsday. And the Ten Rings as well. There's a lot of mystery behind those in this movie. Look, I'm not going to, spoil the movie for you, but all I'm saying is this movie it feels important to me. It feels like one that you definitely should watch out of this phase because, like I mentioned, some of the elements they introduced, like the rings and the character of Shang-Chi himself, but also it just feels like kind of similar to what Guardians felt like for the MCU, where it showed us the cosmic side. This feels like it's touching more on the I don't even know how to describe it because it's not really magic. It's not like Doctor Strange. It's a weird mix between magic and cosmic. So I don't know. It's a very very interesting type of genre, type of movie, but one that I think will be very important for you to watch to understand Doomsday. Now, on the third spot, this one is the easiest no-brainer of this list, and that is Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, I want to preface, a lot of people will think I'm putting this here for one reason, or I should say two specific reasons, but that is not the case. I genuinely think this movie is integral to Peter Parker's story and his character, and especially if, he's going to be the player that I think he will be in Doomsday, or at least Secret Wars. I think you're going to have to see this to understand where he's at, because otherwise you'll be hit like a ton of bricks going from Far From Home to his appearance in Doomsday or something. I feel like it's going to be important to watch this one. So yeah, for the first time in cinematic history of Spider-Man, our friendly neighborhood hero's identity is revealed, bringing his superhero responsibilities into conflict with his normal life and putting those he cares about the most at risk. When he enlists Doctor Strange's help to restore his secret, the spell tears a hole in their world, releasing the most powerful villains who have ever fought a Spider-Man in any universe. Now, Peter will have to overcome his greatest challenge yet, which will not only forever alter his own future, but the future of the multiverse. And that right there perfectly sums up what I'm talking about. This movie affects the multiverse, it affects our universe, it affects our understanding of Spider-Man in our universe and where he's at, his relationship with his friends. He faces off against villains that you may be surprised to see that you never thought you would see Spider-Man face off against. I just think it's, super, super important, and I'm surprised that a lot of people have started to turn on this movie because they have. I've seen a lot of people say that it's overrated, it's not what it used to be, blah, blah, blah. I disagree. There's definitely a level of hype here. But if you go into this movie just expecting a Spider-Man movie, number one, I think you will be blown away. I think it holds up really well. It's emotional, it gets dark, and like I mentioned, it does stuff to Peter Parker's character in the MCU that we have not seen that you need to see. And as I mentioned, I can't obviously confirm this because I'm not working on the movies, sadly, but I think Peter and Spider-Man will play a big role in Avengers Doomsday. So yes, I would see this one. Not to mention, some of the other characters they introduced for like a split second gives you a lot of context to what's going on in this world. I don't know. This is a very hard movie to talk about without getting into spoilers. So I guess I'll just kind of leave it at that. I don't know. Anyways, number 4, I have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. To restore a world where everything is changing, Strange seeks help from his ally Wong, the Sorcerer Supreme now, and the Avengers' most powerful, Scarlet Witch, aka Wanda. But a terrible threat looms over humanity and the entire universe that no longer can be done by their power alone. Even more surprising, the greatest threat in the universe looks exactly to be Doctor Strange. This one, another huge, huge movie for Doomsday. I know we've abandoned, if you don't know, we've abandoned a plot for a different villain, and that's why we're getting Doomsday. And the multiverse was originally going to be a big plot in that movie, so a lot of people think they're just ditching that. I, however, do not. I think the multiverse will play a big role in Doomsday, and that's why I think Spider-Man 3 and this Doctor Strange sequel are very important for your watch-along to understanding that. The multiverse can be kind of confusing, and especially if you're not a big Marvel fan already and you're going through these for the first time, or even if you are a big Marvel fan, you probably need a refresher on these kind of things. Plus, it's just, this is a movie where a lot of stuff happens, a lot of important stuff, and the death of a major player in the MCU. So, for those reasons alone, I think this is very important. Now, what I will preface is, I don't want to spoil my TV show ranking video, but I will say one of the shows I'm going to be putting in that is WandaVision, and you need to watch WandaVision before you see this. I will say that. If you're seeing this before my TV show version of this list, go watch WandaVision before you watch this. Do yourself a favor. But with that being said, I do think this is an amazing Doctor Strange story. This is another one that gets a lot of hate, and I think it is because of people's expectations. Now, it's also coupled with the fact that it's a Sam Raimi movie, and Sam Raimi has a very particular style, and it's not for everybody. And I'm not saying it's by any means a perfect movie, but I will say it gets way more hate than it deserves. I think it's a fine movie. It does well balancing a lot of concepts. It introduces some crazy characters that I did not expect. It gives you some lore, some information on the multiverse, and some information on Doctor Strange himself. Because I believe Doctor Strange will be one of, if not the main Avenger in Doomsday. He's one of the most seasoned now. He's one of the most powerful. He knows the multiverse. I just think there's a lot there that Doctor Strange is going to be integral in Doomsday. So I think you need to see his appearance in this. And as far as I know, this will probably be his last appearance before Doomsday. So yeah, this is an essential watch in my opinion. Not to mention stuff like I mentioned, it's not really a spoiler, but Wong being Sorcerer Supreme. There's just stuff you can't really miss in this movie that they introduce that I feel like if you do skip it, again, you'll be confused. And that's how I go about making this list for the most part. I feel like if you guys skip some of these, you'll be confused. And I don't want you to be. So, that's why I'm going to have to put this here. Now, moving on to my final spot. This was a tough one, I'm not going to lie. But I ended up going with Black Panther Wakanda Forever. In Marvel Studios, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Queen Ramonda, Shuri, M'Baku, Okoye, and the Dora Milaje fight to protect their nation from interfering world powers in the wake of King T'Challa's death. As the Wakandans strive to embrace their next chapter, the heroes must band together with the help of War Dog Nakia and Everett Ross to forge a new path for the Kingdom of Wakanda. Now, I said I was avoiding spoilers, and honestly, this is not a spoiler in my opinion because Chadwick died in real life, and it was public that when he died, that they would not be recasting. So, obviously, the number one reason you should watch this movie, it kind of explains everything with where Wakanda itself is at, and also like where the character of the Black Panther is at. For those reasons alone, this is a must-watch. And also, on top of all that, this is another one that kind of builds on the world of the MCU, introduces a whole new sub-area, wink wink, of the universe, and introduce some really interesting villains / maybe anti-heroes, some relationships, and it honestly is the future of the MCU in a couple ways, especially with something they introduced in the post-credit scene. With that being said, I think you guys are starting to realize, this is a no-brainer must-watch for you. Especially going into Doomsday, Black Panther will be a part of the MCU, whether Chadwick is here or not, sadly. RIP to Chadwick Boseman. He was an amazing Black Panther. I thought he did great. Now, I will say I think the Black Panther movies are a little bit overrated. I think they're fine movies. They're good movies, but yeah. This one, however, did get a little bit of hate, and I think it is just because of the balancing act of respecting Chadwick and trying to move forward through all that grief while still making a big budget Hollywood movie. Not really easy, but I think it's still a good movie. I think it's worth your time. And like I mentioned, without spoiling anything for you guys, there's a lot of stuff introduced here that is important and integral. And I feel like if you skipped this, again, you would be confused. You're starting to sense a pattern here. But yeah, no, I think this is the most comprehensive list of Phase 4 that I can come up with. I thought about it a lot, and these are definitely the 5 movies that I would put. Now, be on the lookout for my 5 TV shows. Like I said, that I will be making that because there's quite a few TV shows in this phase. But yeah, with that being said, let me know what you think down below, both of this video and of these movies, if you watch them in this order that I gave. If you disagree and you think there's a better 5, let me know down below what you would pick and why. And until next time, I will see you guys in my TV show ranking.